CM Punk has to be one of the most polarizing figures in professional wrestling. Everywhere he's gone, he's divided fans. Some think he's the best in the world, while others complain that he's too much drama. While both sides of the argument make sense, my question is, does Punk's value outweigh the backstage chaos he brings along? Well, that's exactly what we're trying to figure out today. This is why CM Punk is not worth the drama. When Punk first showed up in WWE in 2006, you could tell he was different. He had tattoos, lived a straight-edge lifestyle, and had already made a name for himself in other promotions like IWA, ROH, and NWA TNA. He debuted in WWE as part of the ECW brand and fit right into the subversive mold. Within a short period, he garnered a following for his in-ring capabilities and knack for storytelling. Punk's talents were quickly rewarded when he became part of the 2006 Survivor Series traditional elimination tag team match, where he teamed with D-Generation X and the Hardy Boys to take on Rated RKO, Mike Knox, Johnny Nitro, and Gregory Helms. Despite being surrounded by so many big names, it was Punk who got the biggest reaction that night. WWE took notice of Punk's popularity and scheduled him for a match against Chris Benoit for the ECW Championship. That was supposed to be Punk's big break, but tragically, it never happened for reasons that shook the wrestling world. Instead, he lost to Johnny Nitro, who filled in for Benoit. Now, according to reports, Punk lost because the people backstage weren't too high on him and doubted if this tattooed-up, straight-edge guy could be a main event player. Supposedly, Vince, at one point, even told Paul Heyman to fire Punk, and Heyman had to convince the boss to let him stay. Punk eventually did get that ECW championship a few months later. He held onto it for 143 days, dishing out quality matches left and right. Yet, despite that, the real test was always going to be when he stepped up to WWE's flagship shows, Raw and SmackDown. And step up he did. Within weeks of moving to Raw, Punk cashed in his Money in the Bank contract and became world champion. Even though he lost the belt later, they protected him in the storyline. The guy even had significant wins over main event players like Batista and JBL, and he was doing well in the tag team and intercontinental title scenes. Still, something was missing. He always seemed to be a backup, and never the main guy. And to be frank, his backstage reputation of butting heads with producers and writers didn't help him much. Punk says he was just trying to prove a point to the big bosses. But let's be real, wrestling is a business built on tradition, and anyone who tries to disrupt those traditions usually doesn't make it very far. Punk's second run with the world title after he got drafted to SmackDown was much better than his first one. This was mainly because of his feud with Jeff Hardy, which pitted Hardy's struggles with addiction against Punk's straight-edge lifestyle. The feud had some amazing storytelling, and the crowd ate it up. Punk ended his program with Hardy by defeating him in a loser leaves WWE steel cage match and became one of the biggest heels in the company. Fans were expecting Punk to have a lengthy reign with the world title, but he suddenly lost it to The Undertaker. According to reports, this sudden change of mind was because The Undertaker wasn't thrilled with Punk's attire and made his opinions known backstage. However, nothing was ever confirmed. Whatever the reason, it was clear that Punk wasn't getting a classic WWE push, as he started losing back-to-back matches against the likes of Batista and Rey Mysterio. Punk's rivalry with Rey was capped off by a match at Over the Limit, where Punk had to shave his head as a result of losing. This led to a new look for Punk, as he started wearing a black mask and adopted a more sinister persona. Punk would go on to form the Straight Edge Society, along with Luke Gallows and Serena Deeb, but that faction would be short-lived. After jumping from storyline to storyline, Punk finally hit his stride in 2011. Until then, he had been a prominent player, but never the face of WWE. However, things shifted when Punk announced his contract was expiring, and he wouldn't be renewing it. This was not just a storyline. Punk was genuinely frustrated with the company's politics and was contemplating a career in MMA. On June 27th, during an episode on Raw, Punk delivered his now iconic pipe bomb promo. He broke character, criticized the company's backstage politics, called out The Rock, and even mentioned rival promotions. This blurred reality even further and generated massive buzz. It was unclear whether he was scripted or speaking his mind, and fans ate it up. Punk claimed he would win the WWE title and leave the company, echoing his own Summer of Punk storyline from years earlier, but on a grander stage. At Money in the Bank, in front of a frenzied audience, CM Punk captured the WWE title, leaving everyone stunned. This storyline reignited interest in WWE, sparking conversations that a new era was dawning. At that time, Punk was on the verge of becoming a cultural phenomenon, similar to how Steve Austin had done years earlier. Speculation abounded about what Punk would do next, with fans excitingly imagining him showing up in independent promotions as the real WWE champion. Concurrently, WWE was toying with the idea of turning John Cena heel. Imagine an alternate reality where Cena became a villain on the level of Hulk Hogan, while Punk took over as the new face of the company. Unfortunately, WWE missed this golden opportunity. Within weeks, Punk lost his title and entered a seemingly directionless feud with Kevin Nash and Triple H. He did reclaim the title later, but the momentum was lost. Punk eventually left the WWE dissatisfied with his position and medical treatment, leading to a high-profile legal battle with the company. After that, Punk briefly pursued a career in UFC, albeit unsuccessfully, before dabbling in acting and comic book writing. He made a controversial return to wrestling commentary via a Fox Sports contract. His tenure on the show was riddled with issues. A seasoned member of the creative team revealed that Punk's comments on the WWE Backstage show were causing disruptions. As a result, his role was reduced towards the end of the show. Then, on August 20th, 2021, after spending 7 years away from the wrestling business, Punk made his much-awaited return on the first episode of AEW Rampage. His debut drew one of the most amazing audience reactions to a pro wrestler in US history. In fact, the reaction was even compared to Montreal's reaction to Hulk Hogan in 2002, shortly after his WWE return, or the reaction to Triple H in Madison Square Garden a few months before that upon his return from a torn quad. Punk would start his AEW run by going against younger guys like Darby Allin and Eddie Kingston, before entering into a classic feud with MJF that saw him come out on top. After that, Punk set his sights on the AEW World Championship. He captured the AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing on May 29, 2022 by defeating Adam Page. However, just days later on the June 3rd episode of Rampage, he announced he was taking a hiatus to recover from a foot injury while retaining his title. Punk made his highly anticipated return to AEW on the August 10th special episode of Dynamite, setting up a title dispute with interim champ Jon Moxley. However, Moxley pulled an upset and defeated Punk on the August 24th episode of Dynamite. Despite this setback, Punk came back strong to regain the AEW World Championship by defeating Moxley at All Out in September 2022. But following the event, Punk found himself embroiled in backstage drama. During the post-match media scrum, he addressed rumors that he had been involved in the firing of Colt Cabana from AEW. He accused Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks of spreading these rumors. This led to a real-life altercation between Punk and the trio, resulting in suspensions for all involved parties. As a consequence, the AEW World Championship was vacated, and Punk and the Elite were suspended. To further complicate matters, Punk underwent surgery for a torn left tricep, an injury he sustained during his match at All Out. Then, after a 9-month absence from AEW, Punk made his highly anticipated return, aligning with FTR to win a 6-man tag team match, and even participating in the Owen Hart Cup tournament. Despite losing in the finals to Ricky Starks, Punk's story took another compelling twist when he unveiled his version of the AEW World Championship, declaring himself as the real world champion. This led to a match between him and Samoa Joe at AEW's record-breaking All-In event at Wembley Stadium. However, the whole show got overshadowed because of the altercation that went down between Punk and Jack Perry backstage. The incident was apparently sparked by Perry making an on-air comment about real glass, which was a jab at a prior disagreement between him and Punk. When Punk confronted Perry backstage, the situation escalated to physicality, where Punk put Perry in a chokehold and even dropped the tower of monitors, falling on AEW president Tony Khan before verbally chewing him out. AEW had previously tried to isolate Punk from potential conflicts by giving him his own show, AEW Collision. But this strategy fell apart at mixed roster pay-per-view events. Tony Khan cited safety concerns as the reason for Punk's firing, emphasizing that nobody is above the rules, no matter their star power, not even Punk.